This episode of So You're Interested In is sponsored by cigarettes. I love them. Welcome back to So You're Interested In, the show where I break down an artist's discography in order to give you, the viewer, the best possible jumping off point in order to get into their catalog. And on this installment, we'll be heading down to the Shrimp Shack to dive into Viagra Boys. Hailing from Stockholm, Sweden, Viagra Boys music can best be described as post-punk and new wave. You might be thinking to yourself, another post-punk band? You bet your derriere. But Viagra Boys are not your grandpa's new wave outfit, as their use of horns as well as their dark humor in their lyrics separate them from their contemporaries. So far, the group has released a couple of albums, EPs, and singles, and apparently already have their next album recorded, so expect to see a lot from them in the future. So, to keep you up to date and in the loop, I'll be suggesting 2 albums and 3 individual tracks that I think you should be listening to if you want to get into Viagra Boys. Ring-a-ding-ding, it is time for the albums. The first record from Viagra Boys to check out is their 2018 debut, Streetworms. Full of hard-hitting drums, driving bass lines, and interludes about show dogs, Streetworms has a little bit of everything. Starting off with the lead single, Sports, you will be instantly welcomed into the Viagra Boys club. With a bass line that just begs for you to groove, sparse percussion, and spoken word lyrics about sports, drugs, and wiener dogs, this is an essential track. I know it sounds insane, and it kind of is, but just trust me and dive right in. Next up is the much more emotional cut, Just Like You. Sure, Sebastian Murphy's vocals and lyrics are immensely powerful, but the real standout here is the eclectic mixing of the percussion and that roaring horn section. Finally, after Just Like You, be sure to hear Worms. A much more sullen song, Worms relies heavily on Murphy's crooning, dark vocals that crawl across the instrumental just like the worms that he is singing about. When it's all said and done, Streetworms is a fantastic project, one that shows off the ridiculous range that Viagra Boys have to offer. It's a perfect record to start off with when checking out their catalog. The next album from Viagra Boys to hear is their latest release, Welfare Jazz. Following up on Streetworms, Welfare Jazz sees Murphy and company expand on their earlier sound while adapting a much more emotional tone in many of their tracks. The album kicks off with Ain't Nice, which is a gasoline fire of an opener. The synths are stringy and sharp, the bass is full, and the drums are heavy, all while Murphy growls and snarls across this bitchin' instrumental. Also, these rusty horns at the end of the song are freaking awesome. Next, Creatures is that moody track that I was talking about earlier. Murphy sings about being an unwanted creature, mostly in reference to his younger days being a drug addict, all over this bouncy yet lethargic beat. Last but certainly not least, you need to listen to the Country. Between the horns, piano loops, and cinematic percussion, this is Viagra Boys' most meaningful song to date, as Murphy sings about wanting to settle down and move to the country to avoid the problems of everyday life. I know that this record is less than a week old as of this video being released, but I can confidently say that Welfare Jazz is Viagra Boys' most complete project yet, making it an absolute necessity for new listeners. What comes after the albums? Well, if you guessed tracks, you're correct. First track to check out from this Swedish group is Lick the Bag, which comes off of their 2020 EP, Common Sense. The best way to describe Lick the Bag is that it is ridiculously fun. Murphy sings about doing drugs all day long, so much so that he needs to lick the bottom of the bag in which he holds his goodies in order to get high. Meanwhile, the instrumental includes a fuzzy guitar, grooving bass, violent drums, and, of course, their signature horn solo. Plus, there's a part of the song where Murphy teaches kids how to lick the bottom of the bag, which is actually pretty hilarious. Lick the Bag brings out the best in Viagra Boys' instantly recognizable sound, making it a must-listen for incoming fans. Next up, Upside Backwards from their 2017 EP, Call of the Wild, is yet another necessary listen. In comparison to the rest of these songs and albums that I've talked about so far, Upside Backwards is certainly much more rudimentary in terms of the sound design and song construction. Utilizing raw drums, swift guitar licks, and a simple bass line, this cut is nothing crazy. However, where it lacks in the instrumental, the vocal mixing and production is actually something pretty special. Throwing Murphy's vocals back and forth as he rambles on about everything and anything helps to keep this track fresh and intriguing. Upside Backwards doesn't break any barriers, but it is still a solid song nonetheless. And to close out the tracks, you should lend your ear to Research Chemicals, which comes off their debut EP, Consistency of Energy. Just like Upside Backwards, this is a rather straightforward post-punk track. Murphy still sings about his favorite topic, drugs, although on this song you can pretty easily tell how much anger is in his voice. The production is unpolished, the vocals are distant and full of reverb, and the guitar is intense. Once again, Research Chemicals does not reinvent the wheel, but it still holds up as a frantic and lively song. And that does it. That is my video on Viagra Boys. Make sure to go check them out. I've really been wanting to put out this video for a very long time, but I had to wait until the newest record was released, mostly because it's really hard to make one of these videos when the artist or band has only released one album. Regardless, all of the albums and tracks that I've talked about out are located in the video description box below. While you're down there, feel free to leave a comment if you do end up listening to Viagra Boys and tell me which albums or songs that you really liked or disliked, or really any opinion that you have whatsoever. You can also feel free to suggest any artist or band that you would like to see covered on this show. Actually, next week, one of the videos that is coming out is one of your suggestions, so continue to give me some great ideas and I promise I'll do my best to run with them. Please subscribe for videos just like this every single Wednesday, along with the occasional video on Monday, along with Forever Spinning, which is a video history essay on a classic album that comes out every Friday, or most Fridays, maybe not every Friday. Sometimes I fill it in with stacks of wax where I go through my record collection alphabetically. So yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of content on this channel to consume, so please continue watching. I love all the support that I have from you guys. It's been really great. And yeah, that is about all that I have to say besides go listen to Viagra Boys, wear a mask when you're outside, and make sure to support your local record stores and local artists. I'm sure they could use all the help that they can right now, so please do your part if you can. So that's it. That is the video, and until next time, happy listening.